And I will always be right here, waiting for and for your love.
The stage lights were bright, almost blinding, as the curtains slowly opened. The audience was chatting, some people clapping politely, others barely paying attention. It was just another audition day, another hopeful dreamer walking onto the America's Got Talent stage. Or at least, that's what everyone thought. From the side of the stage, a young man stepped forward. He looked nervous, his shoulders slightly hunched, his hands trembling as he walked toward the center. His clothes were simple, worn, clearly not chosen by a stylist. A plain shirt, faded jeans, shoes that had seen better days. There was nothing flashy about him. Nothing that screamed star. If anything, he looked like someone who might have taken a wrong turn and ended up on the stage by accident. Simon Cowell leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, his expression neutral, almost bored. He had seen thousands of auditions like this. Poor kid, nervous smile, big dream. He glanced down at the paper in front of him, then back up again. "What's your name?" Simon asked, his tone polite but distant. The young man swallowed hard. "My name is Miguel," he said softly. "And where are you from, Miguel?" Simon continued. "I'm from the Philippines," Miguel replied. There was a small murmur in the audience. The Philippines had produced many talented singers before, but still, expectations were mixed. Some people leaned forward with mild curiosity, others exchanged doubtful looks. Simon nodded. "And how old are you?" "I'm 23, Miguel said. "And what do you do back home?" Simon asked. Miguel hesitated. His eyes flicked toward the audience, then back to the judges. I work wherever I can," he said. "Sometimes construction, sometimes cleaning. Anything to help my family." Sofia Vergara's expression softened immediately. "Who do you live with?" she asked gently. "My mother and my 2 younger sisters," Miguel replied. "My father passed away when I was very young." The audience quieted. The casual chatter disappeared, replaced by respectful silence. "And why did you come here?" Simon asked. Miguel took a deep breath. "I came because music is everything to me. I grew up listening to old songs. My father loved American music. He loved Elvis Presley." Simon raised an eyebrow slightly. "Elvis, huh?" Miguel nodded, a small smile appearing on his face. "Yes, sir, Elvis." There was a hint of skepticism in Simon's eyes. He had heard many people claim inspiration from legends. Very few could even come close. "So what are you going to sing for us today?" Simon asked. Miguel straightened his back. "I will sing an Elvis song," he said quietly. A few people in the audience chuckled softly. Elvis was sacred territory. Trying to sing like Elvis on a stage like this was risky. Very risky. Simon leaned forward a little. "All right," he said, "whenever you're ready." The music began softly. A familiar tune filled the theater. It was one of Elvis's classic songs, instantly recognizable. The audience smiled politely, some already preparing themselves for disappointment. Miguel closed his eyes. For a brief moment, nothing happened. Then he opened his mouth. And everything changed. The first note came out, deep, rich, powerful. It wasn't just similar to Elvis. It was uncanny. The tone, the vibrato, the control. It sounded as if Elvis Presley himself had somehow stepped onto the AGT stage, decades after his passing. The audience froze. Simon's head snapped up. His eyes widened slightly, his posture changing instantly. Sofia's mouth fell open. Howie Mandel leaned forward, his eyebrows shooting up in disbelief. Miguel continued singing, his voice flowing effortlessly through the melody. Every word carried emotion. Every note was placed perfectly. It wasn't an imitation that felt forced or exaggerated. It was natural, smooth, respectful. He wasn't trying to be Elvis. He simply sounded like him. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some people covered their mouths. Others stared at the stage, eyes wide, unable to believe what they were hearing. Simon leaned closer to the desk, his arms now uncrossed. He glanced at Howie, then back at Miguel. His expression had shifted from skepticism to shock. Miguel opened his eyes and looked out into the audience. Confidence slowly replaced his nervousness. The music built, and so did his voice. He hit a note so clean, so powerful, that the audience erupted into spontaneous applause in the middle of the song. Miguel didn't break. He stayed focused, riding the wave of sound, his voice soaring. He added subtle movements, small gestures that echoed Elvis's iconic style, but never crossed into parody. It was classy. It was authentic. Sofia shook her head, laughing in disbelief. "Oh my God," she whispered. Howie placed a hand over his mouth. "No way," he murmured. Simon stared intently, his face serious now, almost stunned. This wasn't just good, this was special. As the song reached its climax, Miguel's voice filled the theater completely. The final note rang out, strong and steady, lingering in the air long after the music stopped. Silence. For half a second, nobody moved. Then the entire theater exploded. The audience jumped to their feet, screaming, clapping, cheering as loudly as they could. A standing ovation erupted, waves of applause crashing toward the stage. People were shouting, whistling, some even wiping tears from their eyes. Miguel stood there, frozen, his eyes wide. He looked overwhelmed, almost scared by the reaction. He placed a hand over his mouth, his chest rising and falling rapidly as he tried to process what was happening. Simon slowly stood up. The crowd roared even louder. Simon Cowell, known for his harsh criticism and controlled reactions, was standing. He began clapping, slowly at first, then faster. His expression was one of genuine astonishment. Miguel's knees nearly buckled. When the applause finally settled, Simon sat back down, shaking his head slightly as if trying to wake himself from a dream. I don't even know what to say," Simon began. The audience quieted instantly. "I've heard a lot of people sing Elvis songs," Simon continued. "Most of them should never try. Ever." The crowd laughed. "But you don't just sing like Elvis. You have that tone, that depth, that authenticity." Miguel's eyes filled with tears. "It was like listening to a ghost," Simon said honestly. "In the best possible way." The audience applauded again. Sophia leaned forward. "I'm obsessed with Elvis," she said. "And when you started singing, I literally forgot you were standing there. I closed my eyes, and I was there. You are unbelievable." Howie shook his head again. "I don't understand how that voice comes out of you," he said. "You walk out here, you look shy, you look nervous, and then boom. That voice, that was insane." Miguel laughed softly through his tears. "Thank you," he said. Simon raised a hand. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Yes, sir," Miguel replied. "Why Elvis?" Simon asked. "Why not something more modern?" Miguel smiled gently. "Because when my father was alive, he used to sing Elvis songs at night," he said. "We didn't have much, no TV, no fancy things, but when he sang, everything felt okay. When he passed away, those songs were all I had left of him." The audience went silent again. A few people sniffled. "So when I sing Elvis," Miguel continued, his voice trembling, "I feel like my father is listening." Simon looked down for a moment, visibly moved. "That," Simon said quietly, "is why music matters." He looked back up at Miguel. "You didn't just perform. You told a story, and you honored a legend without copying him." Simon took a breath. "This is a yes from me." The crowd cheered wildly. "Yes," Sophia shouted, slamming her hand on the desk. "How could it be anything else?" Howie said, "It's a massive yes." Miguel covered his face with both hands as tears streamed down his cheeks. The judges' votes echoed in his ears, but it barely felt real. Simon leaned forward one last time. "Miguel," he said, "I think you could go very, very far in this competition. Do not underestimate what just happened here." Miguel nodded, barely able to speak. "Thank you," he whispered. As Miguel walked off the stage, the audience continued cheering. Backstage, he leaned against the wall, sliding down to the floor as emotion finally overtook him. Years of struggle, of doubt, of poverty, all collided with this single moment of recognition. Producers rushed over, congratulating him. Other contestants stared in awe, some smiling, some realizing just how high the bar had been raised. And out in the theater, Simon Cowell sat back in his chair, still processing what he had just witnessed. Another audition, another dreamer, but this one was different. Because for a few magical minutes, a poor young man from the Philippines had opened his mouth, and brought Elvis back to life.